Just before I go to our next caller, here's an email I got about our Public Utilities Board. Our PUB had tens of thousands of pages of information, hundreds of exhibits, millions of dollars, and an extension of time, yet they delivered no decision. That had nothing to do with the current government. The same result would have been reached by the PUB, no matter if it was Liberal or NDP government in power, a Liberal or NDP government in power. The utter incompetence of our PUB has nothing to do with the current PC government. Okay, maybe our next caller who wants to talk about the Muskrat Falls, Danny Dumaresque, leadership candidate, might have a comment on that. Let's try. Danny, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill. Yes, I wanted to call. I pulled over here by Birchie Lake because I got good reception to actually download a copy of the ruling from the Nova Scotia Utility Board.
Yeah.
And it's a very bad day for Newfoundland and Labrador. And you know, reading that report is akin to looking back at the transactions in Quebec. And as far as I'm concerned today, we are seeing the Premier of Nova Scotia acting no different than the Premier of Quebec did, 40 years ago.
You're going to have to explain that. What is it you're saying, Danny? You're going to have to explain that observation. What's the point you're making?
Yes, the point that I'm making, and on page 73 of the report, it clearly says that the only way that this maritime link should proceed is if Nalcor and the people of this province gives 170 megawatts for free, and in addition to the 170 megawatts, now they're saying they have to get a 330 megawatts, so fully 500 megawatts of power they must get at rock bottom prices in order, and contracted for 35 years. Otherwise, this is not the least cost option. So they are coming to us with a gun to our head, and obviously saying that unless we give them a guarantee that we're going to give them 500 megawatts of power, which is basically 75% of the total output of Muskrat Falls, for nothing or next to nothing for 35 years, they are not going to proceed with this project. And I mean,
let me ask you, before you proceed further, because you're far closer to this issue than a lot of us, including me, is the PUB, or is the board in Nova Scotia going beyond the deal that was struck between Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, Emera and Nalcor, in saying that, or are they simply stating what the deal is and has been?
What the PUB is saying in Nova Scotia is that the deal that has been reached with the two companies that you're just talking about is silent on the sale of the extra power that would come over the line from Newfoundland, and their position is that they cannot agree to allow this project to proceed with this silence. They said that only way they could recommend going ahead with this project is if there was a guarantee that the other 330 megawatts of power was given to Nova Scotians, and I read, at no additional cost to the ratepayers.
Okay.
And this is what I've been saying all along, Bill.
Okay, let me stop you. Let me stop you there. You say this is what you've been saying all along, but this decision by the PUB in Nova Scotia, does this make the situation worse than critics of the project have been saying, or does it merely confirm you in your criticisms over months past?
Well, this is absolutely worse than we could have ever imagined. I mean, one thing was that I would never accept is to give away 35 years of free power. Yeah, but now instead of only getting 20% of the power, they are now asking for 75% of the power at rock bottom prices in order for this to be viable. And can you imagine that the people of Nova Scotia are saying to us that we want 500 out of the 800 megawatts of power, but it will not increase our light bill at all, that there will be no additional cost to ratepayers? I mean, this is absolute highway robbery, and there's no way that we can ever agree to building a line to Nova Scotia under those terms. Absolutely never.
So, do you expect I know you can't speak for Dunderdale and the government of Newfoundland, the PC government of Newfoundland, you're running for the Liberal leadership. Do you expect the government of Newfoundland to say, my goodness, this deal is worse than we anticipated, we're going to have to pull in here and reconsider? Or do you think they're going to carry on with it come hell or high water?
Well, I mean, the performance and the decisions that they have certainly shown us so far is to be one of total and absolute irresponsibility. And I can tell you, I've been in business for 17 years. There is no business case in this deal. And my position is that if we are going to give away now 500 megawatts of power, 75% of the total output of Muskrat Falls to Nova Scotia for 35 years, come on, let's start looking at the international community and bring in some multinationals that will be building some smelters here similar to what we have in Quebec in the aluminum business, where we can get thousands of jobs, high-paying jobs. I mean, that's what we should be using our power to leverage. This is our competitive advantage. Let's take advantage of it.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, this is right now, to make this commitment right now as a people would absolutely be financial and total and absolute irresponsible governance.
Okay, Danny, got to say goodbye to you. You're a leadership candidate. We have our rules. Some would say fortunately or unfortunately, and I've added a little for the questions and my butting in and so on. But thank you very much for your take on things, and perhaps others involved in the analysis of this project will join us as well. Thanks a lot. Nice talking to you.
Thank you, Bill. Nova Scotia is no better than Quebec, and people should not forget that.
Okay. See ya. Bye-bye.
All the best. Bye.
Bye-bye.